It can feel a little bit like falling down the rabbit hole, watching the polls, tracking the statistics, reading the crosstabs. But when it comes down to the 2020 election, we have to ask, are we overthinking it? Our colleague and friend Tim Alberta provides some anecdotal context in Politico today. Quote, sometimes you hear a voter say something so basic, so one-dimensional that you're inclined to dismiss it until you hear it for the 1000th time. That's the story of this election all across America. In conversations with voters about their choices this November, I've been hearing the same thing over and over again. I don't like Trump. Sometimes there's a slight variation. I'm so tired of this guy. I can't handle another 4 years of this. The remarkable thing, many of these conversations never even turned to Biden. In Phoenix, several people who had just voted for the Democratic nominee did not so much as mention his name in explaining their preference for the president. We're back with Robert Gibbs, Steve Schmidt, and Aisha Mills. I mean, this is sort of politics 101, Steve. If it's a referendum on the incumbent loses. Donald Trump may be too much of a narcissist to let the conversation or even a single news cycle be about anyone other than him. He may have been structurally incapable of being reelected.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the reality. In 2016, whomever the election was about was the person who was losing the election. And for 99% of the election, it was about Trump. And then James Comey made it about Hillary Clinton in the last week by just enough that by 78,000 votes in 3 states, Donald Trump pulls out this inside straight. But he's the president now. And everything that's happened over these last 4 years, he's responsible for. It's on his watch. And people understand, at least the majority do, that he's wrecked the country and that he is profoundly incompetent and indecent and that he's divided the country. He's the leader of a faction that's at war with the majority of the country. He's stoked a cold civil war. And Joe Biden offers decency, offers competence, and that's why he's going to win. Of course, the election is about Trump because the tragedy that we're dealing with in this country was caused singularly by Trump's malfeasance and incompetence. None of this had to be. But it is because 4 years ago, there was a real lack of imagination in the American mind about the capacity of this guy to cause a profound tragedy. And that's exactly what he did. And he's going down because of it.
Aisha, even people close to Trump have a nickname for him. They call him the Sun King, because if anything shades his sort of path to the spotlight, he becomes enraged. It would seem this is another example of sort of that structural advantage that Joe Biden managed to find for himself in not being the political headline every hour of every news cycle.
Sure. I mean, the best thing that has happened for Biden, for sure, is that Donald Trump just can't keep his mouth closed, that he is so obsessed with the spotlight, so obsessed with people listening to him, no matter what he's saying, even if he's the butt of the joke, really. The fact that people are even talking about him is the thing that really gets him going. And then, of course, he can't, hold his tongue or put together a coherent thought without just popping off on Twitter. And so, yes, the best thing that has happened for Joe Biden in this campaign is that he has gotten to do what he does best, which is connect with people, showcase his character, really be in deep conversations with folks behind the scenes. What I don't want us to lose sight of, though, as we get rid of Donald Trump, is that we can't just simply go back to business as usual. It has been so unusual and bizarre the last 3.5 years that I think people have probably forgotten and are just like, anything that is quiet and when the leader is not on Twitter will be good. But so much of what is really the wind beneath Biden's wings is this desire to have a different type of America, not just go backwards to, yesteryear, to 20 years ago, but to have more of a progressive imagination about who we could be. And that's the thing that I am hopeful that as we get through this election and get rid of the crazy guy, all of those people who, we're talking to that are saying, I'm voting because I just can't stand Trump, that will also be, continue to be excited about the idea that now that we've got a guy we can work with in the White House, we're going to continue to change the country for better as opposed to just sit still or go backwards. We've got to hold on to that progressive spirit.
It's a really interesting point, Robert Gibbs, and I think hope springs eternal. That some parts of our body politic spring back, but I think it's probably an open question of whether the damage and the gaslighting and the enabling of white supremacists to be part of the political conversation and QAnon and other